Hello and welcome to Science Never Stops. I'm your host Joseph Vick with the U.S. Space and Rocket Center. And today's topic is soda geysers, or looking at gas release and nucleation sites and making a big explosion that we can learn all about different states of matter from one to the other. There are two parts of this experiment. The first part you can do simply at home. I recommend doing it in a sink or in a big bowl, glass plate, is to see small scale wise what it's like for nucleation to happen inside your soda. Now, what is nucleation? That happens to be the process in which matter begins changing from one state to the other, solid, liquid, gas. And in this case with soda, or Dr. Pepper, because that's my favorite soda, but you can use your favorite soda if you want to, is the rapid formation of carbon dioxide, which is the gas that is inside of soda. That's what gas is inside, that when you drink it, it makes you burp, or it makes your tummy or your throat or your mouth feel bubbly on the inside when you drink it. So it is the sudden release of this carbon dioxide. But it needs a nucleation site, not like a website, but a site like something to grab onto or interact with. And you get that with your second piece, which is salt. Now, this happens to be coarse kosher salt. So all of this coarse salt, but you can use regular table salt, smoother salt if you want to, but all of those little surface areas on that salt crystal will interact, and all of that soda will then sort of collect around the thousands of salt crystals. And all of those thousands of salt crystals will have been poured into the soda, because I have a fluted glass here, and fill your fluted glass, this could be a smaller glass too, about halfway full. There we go. And as you pour it, you'll notice that it will start to fizz and bubble, because when you pour it, it will hit the surface of the glass, and that surface will cause a reaction releasing those bubbles. So let me add a little bit more. Or they'll bump into each other. So we're going to add the salt. This is 2 tablespoons. That's quite a lot of salt. But a spoonful will work, which is about a teaspoon, a small teaspoon, and add it to this glass. Now, when you add this to this glass, take note of what happens. Look closely at it. Look very closely at it to see what happens when you add the salt. Now notice it erupts and it starts to spill over depending on how much soda you put into it. And notice the large amount of foam. It's not as large, it's much larger than when we poured it just into the glass, because there's far more nucleation sites, or things for that soda to grab onto and react with and explosively release the carbon dioxide gas that is on the inside. Now let's see if we can add a little bit more to get another bit of reaction. And notice that for the second addition of salt, it did not react as much. Because if you've ever set out a soda on the counter or something over a period of time, it gets what's called flat, and it just doesn't taste bubbly or nice to taste, because all of the carbon dioxide has moved out. It has moved from what was the liquid to the air, leaving you with just a flat base of sugar water. So you have practically forced that process of flattening the soda with the salt. So that is one way to showcase a nucleation site, using a salt crystal. But you can do this much bigger and a lot more explosively outside with the following items. A 2-liter bottle of diet soda, and a pack of Mentos mint candy. So, the Mentos acts just like the salt did in our smaller reaction, where the surface of the Mentos is filled with all these little nucleation sites, these little bits and pieces that then will react with the soda, causing an explosive release of carbon dioxide gas. Now, we're going to need to do some scientific data with this. It's cool to watch, but it's even cooler to collect data. So with this, I recommend setting up this experiment beside a wall that you can use possibly chalk to draw little marker lines on the wall to see how high this geyser can flow. You can also have some sort of stake in the ground beside it where you've marked off each by feet or by meters to see how high it goes. And then you can write this down inside your journal.
Before we go outside to do our soda geyser experiment, I wanted to show you a little experiment hack to make it a little bit easier to drop your Mentos mint candies down into the 2-liter bottle. And I have here a piece of PVC piping that I'm going to fill. And first, I have masking tape, or any kind of tape will work, but I tape the end off like that, so it's easily removed when I set it over the top of the 2-liter bottle. And then I take the Mentos candies and just one at a time, or as they go in, and load each one into the top. And you can do the entire candy, or you can do an experiment with however many you want going in the container. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this one up so that we will have a full chamber of mints for our experiment. There we go, and notice they stay in place, but when I remove the tape, they fly out and then will fall directly into that 2-liter container for the soda geyser. So let's head out and let's set up our experiment outdoors and see how high our soda geyser can spew. So here we are outdoors. I have set up the banner in the back. Feel free to use a wall or your fence to label with chalk or post-it notes as I did. The banner that I have is a little over 6 feet. So I have the markers starting at 2 feet all the way up to 6 feet. There is the canister filled, and I have taped it closed. I'm having some difficulty there with the tape removal. Filled with our Mentos candies and our diet soda 2-liter bottle there. Have the tape. I'm gonna insert the Mentos candies and step back. Wow, look at how high it went. It looks as though it went to the 6-foot marker. Now, how far can yours go? So, continue with your experiment, and remember, science never stops.